Hello. So I've got your model, and so I'm going to go ahead and pull it in and just take a look at it. Okay, we've got some errors. Looks like it's trying to find your reference, so let's just get rid of that. Alright, so we have a reference down here. I'm going to turn everything off on your layers editor. Nice job with that. That looks good. Okay, you got your high poly, medium, excellent, and your low poly. Okay. So the first thing I see just looking at this is that these two pieces need to be separated, because this is why it's called modular. Okay, that's not a modular piece. That is like one solid piece. So we can't have that. So what I would suggest is that we want to separate those first of all, especially when they're low poly. We're going to be using those. So file, and let's go ahead into, actually let's go to mesh and go to separate. Alright, so that should separate everything. It won't separate that piece because it looks like you've modeled that, so you're gonna have to break that apart. That's number one. So to do that, you can go in here and select the faces of it. So let's go to the side view. Okay, so we're going to need to isolate that. It's hard to see it by itself or like this. So to isolate it, I'm just going to do the control key, hold down the control key, and then the 1 key. That will isolate it. And if you hold down the control key again and the 1 key at the same time, so control first and then hit the 1 key, it'll isolate just that piece, and you can bring it back again. So control and then hit the 1 key. Back and forth, you can isolate that, which is really nice. So if I isolate it, then I can go to a side view and do the same thing. Control 1, and that isolates, and I'm going to hit the F key to frame it. And you can easily separate this piece. Okay, where do you want to separate it from? What makes sense? Well, you should have modeled it like I modeled in my videos, and you didn't. So now we've got to fix this. So you may want to use another. Let's see if we can find another one here real quick. Like the rest of these, you have to use the grid system, so they all will match up. They all have to match up. That's the whole idea about having things modular, is that they will match up when you move them around, and you can put them together. And this just doesn't match right here. So how do we fix that? So the top view, let's take a look at that. Let's go in here. Okay, I think we might, let's find out where the face is on this. Alright, so there's the face, so that's it looks like. So I'm going to select those. I went to face, I'll show you. I went to face, and then I'm going to select these guys right here. And then I'm going to extract. So edit mesh and go down to extract. So edit mesh, extract. Okay. And then what we'll do is go to selection, and there that is now separated. Okay. Alright, so those are separate pieces. I'm going to go back into object mode, and that's that guy up here. You can also go down here to select mode, and sometimes if you can't get it to select, then you need to go up here and make sure it's set on object mode. If I hover over it, it'll say select by object type. This is component mode. Okay, that allows us to go in here and go to vertex, edge, and face. Alright, so I'm going to go back to object mode. That's important. So now that that's separated, you're going to have to redo your edge loops for these two. Otherwise, you're going to have to go in here. So those are the things you're going to have to do to make sure you're low poly. Now the medium poly, I don't really care about. That's this guy right here. That's the medium poly with your edge loops. Okay. Now the high poly here, you can't use this piece. Let's go ahead and separate all this stuff again. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. You can see I'm in poly modeling. This is center pivot. Okay. This is delete by type history, and that's what we need to do. We're going to delete that history. Okay. And then we're going to hold down the space bar. Hold down the space bar. Go to mesh and separate. Okay. You can't possibly bring all of these guys into Mudbox. That's an impossibility. It won't work. It'll crash. So you can only do one item at a time. Now this piece right here has to be split up, but it's impossible, nearly impossible to break it up at this level. So what you're going to have to do, unfortunately, because you didn't model these separately, is that you're going to go into low poly, and you're going to have to go in and separate these like I showed you here, and then add edge loops to them separately. Okay? This piece will have edge loops, this piece will have edge loops, and this piece will have edge loops. Okay? The only time I want you to bring it in, the low poly, as one piece, is if you're texturing everything at once. Now you can texture each one of these separately if you like. Bring them in separately. You may bring them all in at one time, but you can't keep it together like this. You cannot keep them as one object. Okay? So you'll have to make sure you have those separated again anyway. So you'll have to break these apart, add edge loops. Okay? The rest of them I think are okay. There's this guy right here that the edge loops don't look good. I noticed on this one right here. The edge loops don't have any edge loops on there, so it falls apart. If you hit the 3 key, you can whoa. Oh yeah, it's telling me large number of faces. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so there it is. So that looks pretty bad. There's a couple things you haven't done on there that I can tell. We'll hit the 1 key again. So the 3 key is preview. The 3 key. Okay. It's just telling me there's too much information there. So what I'm gonna do is, because you don't have that finished, I'm going to go ahead and separate this. Mesh, separate. Here we go. And let's just work on this real quick and see what we need to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and isolate this. Here we go. And start adding edge loops. Alright, let's go ahead and start adding edge loops right here and here. Here. Alright, and then we gotta go to the inside here, and you just gotta add your edge loops, you know. I don't know what else to tell you. It just takes time, so it doesn't fall apart. Oh, let's see here. Alright. And you have to do this work. I'm not giving you this file. That's why I'm doing this video. So add to your edge loops. Okay, all your edge loops that you need to have to keep this from falling in on itself. You either just didn't get to it or you forgot about this one. And that's fine. You just got to do the work. Oops. These pieces aren't really that hard to do. Just takes time to do it. Okay. And the last thing I think is that I'm going to hit the Q key to get out of this mode. So you got to hit the Q key. And I'm going to double click on this edge all the way around, and it should go all the way around. Now, it will be kind of weird. You do need, and I don't think you need to have extrude this part right here. That's already been extruded, right? So we don't need to extrude that. So I'm going to hold the control key down and just deselect those areas there. That's what I normally do for that detail. The rest of them need to be extruded up. You need to give yourself a little bit of leeway there. So when you're working with module pieces, putting them together, there we go. I think that's good. And we got one more piece over here that's got some detail right there. So we need to get that taken care of too as well. So I'm going to hold the control key and just deselect those. There we go. Go to the other side and deselect those. There we go. And then I'm going to go to Control E, which is extrude. And I'm just going to hit the blue arrow, move that up. Now I'm going to take the grid snap off. Okay, I had that on. There we go. That's fine. Okay, cool. Now you can't reverse these normals. Okay, that's just how it is. Alright. Alright, so there we have it. Now we see some issues here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Control Z, right? And I'm going to go and then hit the W key and just move that up and take a look at that, and that looks much better. I hit the W key instead. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of match that as close as I can to that level there, that height that we have right there. There we go. And there you go. There's your pieces. Alright. So the only thing I have left to do with this is to tighten those edges here. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down, right mouse button, go to Insert Edge Loop, and insert edge loops here and here. Okay, that's it. And so when I hit the 3 key, we still have some pillowing there. And that's probably just because I forgot something right there. But that, yeah, it's a little bit soft right there. So there's some things I still need to do. It's looking better, for sure. Okay, what did I forget? Alright, so go in here. And I did forget a couple things here. Alright, so I'm going to go into selection mode. Insert loop. Again, you should have had this done. Okay, so I'm just inserting those loops there that I've forgotten on this side and this side. And the inside of this one. Here we go. Looks like I got those now. Yep, inside, inside, outside. That looks pretty good. And let's hit the 3 key. Still a little soft right there. You can tell when it's too soft, and that has to do with this. I need to add another edge loop there. There we go. So let's hit the 3 key again. Much better. That looks good. Hit the 3 key or 1 key. Get back, and we're a little soft right there too as well. Hit the 3 key again. Much nicer. Okay. You can tell when you are missing edge loops because the hard edges aren't there. And we got some stuff going on here, so we need to work on that. This corner right here. Let's hit the 1 key again. Find out what is going on here. And we need an edge loop here that goes across, an edge loop here. I'm assuming on the other side as well. There we go. And let's get on the other side here and check that out. I think that looks better. Yeah, I think we're getting there. Okay, I'm going to hit the 1 key again, go out of this, go back into object mode. I'm going to hit the Q key. Alright. So, this is what we have so far. Okay, go back up here. You can see object mode is not selected, so I'll select that. I'm going to hit the 3 key, click off, and take a look at it. Much nicer. So that's what you need to do for that. And if you see any more soft pieces, just add some more edge loops in there to support those edges. But I think that's looking pretty good. Alright, so that's that part. Alright, so you get that finished. you're good to go. And then let's go in here and hit the 1 key again. Let's go back to Control 1, bring everything else back again. So that piece is completely done. Alright, so that one's done. You just got some, you got some thickness now on there, and you got the edge loops on there. So you'll need to go in there and duplicate that, put that in as a high. So if I go to your high poly, medium, your high poly, that one's not usable. So I'm going to hit the 1 key on that and just the 1 key and delete it. Just delete that. And I'm going to bring in the high poly or the low poly with that. I'm going to go in here and do a Control D, duplicate that. I'm going to try to put it into the smooth, add selected object to that. We'll see if that works. Okay, I'll turn that off. Okay, it didn't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the low poly and I'm going to delete the layer. Okay, that pulls everything out. And then I'm going to add a new layer here. Low poly. There we go. Alright, so there's my high poly. I'm going to take that off. There's my low poly. Now I've got two on top of each other. Okay, so let's click off that one. Let's go in here. And we want to add this one to this. So I'm going to go ahead and add selected objects. So now, here we go. I'm going to turn on the low. These should be the low poly. Let's go in here and add all these. Add selected objects. There we go. So high poly. So I'm going to smooth this. I'm not sure. I think you were doing 2. Yeah, 2. I'm going to delete the history on that. Alright, so that's smooth. That's good. Looking good there. Alright, so that's high poly. So let's select it. Let's add it to it. Add selected objects. Turn that off. We still have the high poly in here. Okay, so turn that off. Let's put these on his own layer. Just get rid of them for now. I'm just going to focus on my high poly here. Alright, so we're good there. And you may want to add some edge loops across here before you smooth it. Okay, that might be, because right now you got some space here, and you're not going to be able to add detail to that in Mudbox. Okay, but the rest of your stuff looks pretty good. It looks like you've done all that work, so that's good. Alright, so once you get everything separated, okay, you're gonna have to fix this part. You're gonna export these out separately. Okay, now I'm gonna to Mudbox. Okay, so let's say I want to add detail to this, which you don't have to because there's not much room there. But you can add detail to this. This is a prime candidate. This is a prime candidate. All the bigger pieces are prime candidates for extra detail. If you want to add extra detail to this, that's fine. But usually the larger pieces are the ones you want to add extra detail to. Alright, so to prep this, you have to delete by type history, freeze transformation. So I would select all these middle pieces here that you want to add details to. Let's exclude the door for now. I'm not saying you can't, add details to the door. You can, but just focus on this stuff. So delete by type history, freeze transformation. Okay. All right. So with that said, you can export it out. File, export selection, just like you would with the crate. You don't want to export them all at once. That's gonna crash Mudbox. It's too much for it. Export OBJ, export selection, and you can call it whatever you want. 0, 1. Alright, so let's try that. Okay. It's going to take a while. You got to be patient. It's a lot of polygons. I think that one has 169,048. So export it out. Okay. Wow, that took a long time. That was unusually long. Okay. Anyway, be patient with that. If you see that in your computer, if it's that slow on my computer, it might be really slow on your computer. So just give it time. Don't click around. If you start clicking around, you'll lock Maya up. Okay. So let's do the same thing with this one file. Export selection, OBJ selection. This will be beam number 2. Okay. I'm assuming it's going to take the same amount of time. Now notice I'm not triangulating the high poly just yet. I'm going to see if Mudbox, usually when you smooth something, Mudbox accepts it right away. So I always try to import it into Mudbox first before I go in here and triangulate it. Triangulation is the last ditch effort to get something to work. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to do those two because I'm not going to waste your time or my time. You get the idea. So, the beam. Okay, so now you open up Mudbox, which I already have open. Mudbox 2022, file, open, find your documents, default scenes, beam 1, beam 2. Okay, let's try beam 1. Open. Okay, so must have detected problem in the mesh. Ooh, yeah, so the mesh has incomplete set of UVs. You must fix this problem before you can subdivide or paint the mesh properly. To replace the UVs, use create UVs in the mesh menu. Okay, so normally we never UV map it, but it looks like it looks like Mudbox wants it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is you can, it's not close together, so delete this mesh, keep all, cancel import, just cancel import. So let me go into file, new scene with the start brand new. There we go. Alright, close. Alright, so let's go back in here. And so what it's asking or telling me, and basically, you're just going to do this for Mudbox, okay? So you're going to go to UV, automatic, okay? Automatic. Click on that, and edit, reset tool, and then project. Okay, this will take a lot of time because that is a heavy object, so a lot of resolution there. There we go. And then if you want to look at it, it's not, we're never going to use it, so. And don't worry about it, it packs it all for you. You don't have to do anything. Normally we never UV map the high poly, okay? But Mudbox is wanting it. Let's go in here, go to select, go to file, export selection. There we go. Okay, so export selection. Alright, and let's go back into beam 1, OBJ. Export selection already exists. Yeah, let's go ahead and overwrite it. Okay, so now we're ready to go into Mudbox. Here we go. File, import, OBJ. Here we go. You are importing a high resolution meth with no subdivision into Mudbox, which may not yield optimum performance. To improve performance, try using rebuild subdivision levels in the mesh menu. Alright. I just want to see it. Ah, yes. Okay, great. There it is. So now you have it in there. Looks good. I can see all the subdivides. And oh yeah, display. I'm showing wireframe. That's very helpful. Now if you want to turn wireframe off, just go to display and turn wireframe off so you can paint if you want to. That looks pretty good. Alright, you should be good to go, and I look forward to seeing your work. Again, you can go in here and use your stamps. and do what you did with the crate and export it the same way. Now, if you find that if it gives you a hard time, I don't know what that cube is in there for. You might want to take that out. But for future, just make sure you separate everything in. It's just to bring everything in here all at once is crazy, and it's going to be hard to sculpt anyway. So do one piece at a time. Right, then when you're done, export out and you're good to go. Alright, I'll see you next time. Hopefully this was helpful.